Hello, in this video we will look at the renin-angiotensin system in our body. So an renin-angiotensin system will begin from the nephron. We will just understand that is the renin-angiotensin system is first produce the renin from the juxtaglomerular cell. So here is the nephron. Basically it contain a proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct and loop of Henle. So that is the cross section of the nephron, which that is showing in the figure. Here is the glomerular epithelial cell and it is glomerulus, while here is, you can say, that efferent arteriole, and upper is the afferent arteriole. Afferent arteriole is carry the oxygenated blood toward the glomerulus, while the oxygenated blood is also toward the efferent arteriole to make vasa recta for reabsorption. So here is the macula densa, which contain a basement membrane. This is the distal tubule. This distal tubule is arranged in this manner. So this thing is that basically the Bowman capsule is wrapping around the glomerular capillaries. So here you can see the juxtaglomerular cells are present here. This juxtaglomerular cell is basically produce the renin. This renin production basically will lead to increase the blood pressure. How? Let's begin to understand with the detail, so you can understand as well. So basically here I am drawing the blood vessel. So when move into the blood vessel, juxtaglomerular cell produce the renin. This renin is basically the protein. This renin will convert into the angiotensin. Basically is the plasma protein angiotensinogen are present, which angiotensinogen is released from the angiotensinogen from the liver, and after the releasing from the liver to move into the blood vessel, and after the movement of the angiotensinogen move into the blood vessel, so it will activated by the renin to activation from the inactivation of the plasma protein or angiotensinogen into the angiotensin 1. So this angiotensin 1 is the first consisting of 10 amino acid called decapeptide. So this angiotensin 1 will be produced. So basically here that is the angiotensin 1 that is showing in the diagram. You can see the blue color, which that is border is the black, as shown in the figure for understanding. So that is consisting of 10 amino acids called decapeptide. Deca means 10. So that means it is the deca after the also splicing of the 2 amino acid in the presence of angiotensin converting enzyme from the lungs. Lungs contain a angiotensin converting enzyme. This basically is ACE, also known as, and the angiotensin 1 will be converted into the angiotensin 2 due to the angiotensin converting enzyme. So the where the lungs is present, which that is produce the angiotensin converting enzyme, which that is lead to convert the angiotensin 2. So let's begin to understand the angiotensin 2. After this, the angiotensin 2 is basically is the octapeptide. Octa means the 8. It means the 2 amino acid will be spliced by this enzyme and ACE. So important thing is that this is the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor is the ACE inhibitor. ACE inhibitor, which that is a drug, which that is used for the lowering blood pressure, as hypertension will be decreased. So this agent can be used for it. So here is the basically is the angiotensin 2 is the octapeptide, which that is after the releasing of the 2 amino acid. So that is the modification basically due to the enzyme. So this angiotensin 2 is activated to move toward the adrenal gland, which that is situated on the upper side of the kidney, which that is as shown in the figure. So that is contain receptor, angiotensin 2 receptor. This angiotensin 2 receptor will receive the angiotensin 2 and that convert into the aldosterone. It will produce the aldosterone. So it means here is the renin angiotensin aldosterone system is due to the aldosterone production. After this production of aldosterone, which that is basically different function. Basically here is the epithelial of the blood vessel contain receptor, aldosterone receptor. This aldosterone receptor will be bind, receptor will receive the aldosterone and bind to constrict the blood vessel and increase the blood pressure. So it means the aldosterone play important role for the constriction of blood vessel and increase the blood pressure. So the sympathetic activity will be enhanced due to the constriction of the blood vessel. If too much aldosterone production will lead to hypertension. So it means the sympathetic activity basically due to the high blood pressure will increase the sympathetic nervous system enhancement and increase the vasoconstriction to lead high blood pressure. So this is the sympathetic activity will be enhanced due to the constriction of the blood vessel. So that is important things. Aldosterone is directly proportional to the high blood pressure. It means the high number of aldosterone will be molecule will be produced to lead increase the blood pressure. So here let's begin to understand as a target for the nephron also constrict the afferent arteriole where the blood will move toward the glomerulus for the filtration of the blood. So filtration of the waste. So it will be constrict. So that means the constriction are due to the binding with the aldosterone. So after the binding with the aldosterone will be constrict the blood vessel to lead the less filtration rate. So why? Because it is required for the aldosterone want to constrict the blood vessel for prevention of loss of sodium as well as water, for retention as well as the hypertension will be created. So basically it increase the blood pressure as normally. So here is also sodium potassium will be exchanged. It means the sodium will move back into the blood vessel and vasoactive basically is important for it. So this one is basically the hyperkalemia formation. Why? Because the potassium will be required for the sodium ion move into the blood vessel. So the potassium will move into the nephron collecting duct as well as into the nephron. So it means the potassium will excrete while the sodium will absorb or reabsorb. So the loop of Henle will also produce the water, reabsorb the water via a vasorector, which that is the efferent arteriole wrapping around the nephron. So the aldosterone is also important for the production of the aquaporin channel 2. Basically, aquaporin channel 2 will be created into the collecting duct, which that is used for the water reabsorption. So the porin is the protein which contain a pore, which that is allowed to move the water reabsorb into the blood vessel is 10%. So the 10% is reabsorbed from here. So after this, basically important thing is that the aldosterone and renin angiotensin system is important for the high blood pressure, and it means the homeostatic formation we will discuss. So that means the normal balance of the high blood pressure will lead to maintain our blood circulatory system. So here is the pituitary gland, which that is the antidiuretic hormone is also produced. So this hypothalamus basically produce the antidiuretic hormone. And neurohypophysis or posterior pituitary gland, which that's contain hypothalamus will lead to stimulate by the antidiuretic hormone releasing factor, which that release the antidiuretic hormone into the blood circulatory system, and it is used for the reabsorption of water from the nephron. It means it is also directly proportional for the increasing of the water retention into the blood circulatory system. So, in summary, we can say that the water increasing in the blood circulatory system is the retention of the water will lead to increase the osmolality, and it means the high blood volume, where basically high blood volume will be create to increase blood pressure, and this increased blood pressure in during the aging vessels or older vessel, basically when we will aged, will lead to stroke and paralyze and sympathetic activity as well as heart failure. So that is the basically reason. So here is the when sodium, blood pressure and water will be decreased, it will lead to increase the juxtaglomerular cells to stimulate the renin production and angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2, and that means the blood pressure will be again maintained, and sodium uptake of the water or reabsorption of the water will lead to increase the blood pressure. But it is basically when more increase the sodium and blood pressure and water will lead to sympathetic activity, which that is lead to diarrhea, vomiting and perspiration, will be increased. So that means this is the condition when we will aged. So basically antihypertensive will be used for the inhibition of this activity. So increase the blood pressure with the normal range. Basically the normal range is a 120 over 80 millimeter of mercury. Basically the arterial blood pressure is the 120. So that is in basically when lead to increase the uh, uh, range of this blood pressure will lead to hypertension, and this basically antihypertensive will be lead to inhibit and decrease the diarrhea, vomiting and respiration. So important thing is that the AC inhibitor is basically also used for it to lowering agent, blood pressure lowering agent. So that is the renin angiotensin system, which that is I am discussing in this way.